Attention. Attention.
What's happening, everybody? This is Brent from the band Shinedown, and this is Shinedown's Week Takeover right here on Pirate Rock.
The process when you guys are doing material for like an album, do you do all the songwriting yourself, or do you guys sit down together, or
There's not
how
really
does
a
it work?
formula. There's a combination of a lot of that, what you just said. It's like there's not really there's not a specific formula. The only thing that I can really tell you, like, what's pretty consistent is even like our most, like, the heavier material, or like the really, the tempo that's kind of, getting on it. All of that still was written in retrospect, either on a piano or an acoustic guitar. Because the thing with me is melody. The melody has to be strong. I have to find the hook. So the hook is very important. And the pacing of the song, the sound of the syllables, and all those things. Like it's not a computer in my head. It's just I hear a lot of stuff in my head. I hear a lot of just sonic, in regards to language. I just kind of know how to move, at least what I like anyway, move it I can mold it, and then once the melody is established, we'll start to build the track. Yeah. And once the track starts to kind of get its legs and kind of, we start flushing it out, that's when I start to hear what it's about. So that's when the lyrics come. So there's a bit of a formula, but sometimes that doesn't happen. I mean, we've written a song off Barry coming in and, throwing a drum beat down, and then it just kind of takes off from there. But the only thing that's very specific is the melody has to be established, before we even move on. Because if I establish the melody and then, like, I stop for the day and then I, go back to the hotel or whatever I'm doing, if I wake up in the morning and I can't remember the hook, I don't even go back to it. I just start over with something else.
You don't do an app where la 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 sing it in, the melody?
I do, but I kind of have not a ritual, but like even with that, of course I record stuff all the time. Yeah. But if I was working on something the night before and I go to sleep and I wake up and not by grabbing my phone and pushing play to remember it, if I don't remember it just instinctively, then there's something off with it.
But I mean, you don't obviously have a goldfish memory.
No. I don't. But here's the thing: if it's a sick hook, I'll remember it.
Okay. Yeah. No, the question is, like, do you care for all the lyrics in the songs? Because it feels like your expression is different in each and every song. Yeah.
Well, that has a lot to do with, like, I as a songwriter and as a musician, and even as a performer, I can't phone anything in. Like, I can't, like, just coast in regards to the albums and the song. I have to constantly outdo what I've already done. So as far as lyrically, I 100%, I'm the main lyricist in the band. Yeah. So everything that I write from the words point of view has to come from a real place. Yeah. So I don't pull stories out of thin air. It has to be something that is very real and relevant to me, whether it's a person I met or people that I've met, a situation that I've been in, a place that I've gone where I saw something occur. Yeah. My past with my childhood and things like that, my hope for the future, society, and just, the idea of just being a human being. And, when you wake up in the morning, you go down the street, like, being mindful of the fact that if you see someone that's not necessarily having a good day, I've just always had kind of an intuition with that, then, take a moment to go over there and ask them how their day is, and genuinely mean, how is your day going? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, as far as, like, the subject matter and how I convey it, it's all coming from a very real place. So that's probably, the dynamics. A lot of what I do is I don't want the songs to be the same. I don't want the records to be the same. We've never made the same record twice, in my opinion. All of our albums sound different, and that's on purpose. That's by design. Yeah. So with all that being said, Yeah, I mean the lyrics are with our community too, and our community is constantly growing in regards to the fan base, which we're very, very fortunate and humbled by that. They're super, super focused on the lyrics. Like our audience, that's a big deal to them because and I take this very seriously because we've been told by them that we're the soundtrack to their life.
Yeah. Wow.
So you got to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be here without them because I've always said we only have one boss. It just happens to be everybody in the audience.
Yeah. True. What would you say that your inspiration comes from, like music-wise? Do you have any like particular space that you go into when you create music, or is it just like you said, you were walking on the street and suddenly something happens and that would give you inspiration?
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit more like the last, it's sometimes I'll be, we tour really, really extensively too. We're usually on the road like 280 days out of the year, if not longer. I mean, I remember back to the Sound of Madness record cycle, and that was 37 months long. So, yeah, it was, and Amaryllis was 28.
Do you even have like a home to?
I actually don't have a home right now. I sold my house in 2016
so you
because I just didn't need it anymore because I was never there. I was never there.
It's so weird to have a house if you're not there, right?
Yeah, I owned a home in Thousand Oaks, California. It was a beautiful home, and I owned it for 6 years. I might have spent 8 months in it.
Are you kidding?
No.
Oh my god.
So the inspiration, though, it comes from being very, very in tune with the atmosphere and everything around me.
Yeah.
Once again, that goes back to, the childhood part where, as far as I can remember, I was always compelled to write.
Yeah.
I had all these emotions and these thoughts, and it was just like, to the point where it was almost driving me crazy. And then as soon as I wrote it down, it was amazing how whew, like I was able to get it out.
Yeah.
I always tell people that too. I'm like with a lot of people that I know because a lot of people I know are in the industry. They have a lot of problems with anxiety.
Yeah.
And instead of taking a pill for that, because that's never a good thing to do, because you're messing with the chemicals in your brain.
Yeah. Don't go there.
I've always told people, I'm like, keep a journal, and write it out when you're frustrated or something's, annoying. It's hard to be positive sometimes. Everybody can be really negative very quick. Everybody wants to be. It's easy to be a part of the problem. It's harder to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
But the solution is what we need to get to. The inspiration that I have when we go in and we make a record too is my dad changed my life when I was 14 because I was listening to a lot of thrash and a lot of metal when I was 14, and my dad would, periodically, walk by my room and I would have it on and he would never say anything. But one day he walked in. I think I was listening to, because I was listening to some hardcore punk at a certain point in my life. And he came in and he said, music was playing. He's like, Brent, yo, over here.
Pause.
Yeah. Can you turn it down for just a second, I'm like, what, Dad? And he's just like, listen, I'm not going to try to tell you that I have any idea why these people are screaming at me and why they are so mad. He was like, and he was like, he's like, I'm worried about them, but but he gave me a cassette. He gave me a cassette of a guy named Otis Redding, and the astonishing thing that happened was, first of all, I was like, whatever, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
He said, play one song for me. And I was like, well, what song? And he was like, there's a song on it. You'll have to fast forward it. Because it's back in the day. That's why I said cassette. But it was a cassette. He's like, it's called These Arms of Mine. And I put that on. I found it. And I had literally been introduced. It's like I discovered chocolate cake for the first time.
Wow.
And I had never heard a voice literally just fly out of a stereo speaker, and completely instantaneously changed my whole view on melody and conviction, like how you convey, like the cadence of your voice, like how to croon, if you will, because it's an art. An interesting story. I back in the day, I knew a producer named Michael Beinhorn. He produced the Soundgarden Super Unknown, and I had the privilege of being able to be with him and learn from him in the very, very early stages before Shinedown's first record. And Michael was telling, because I was enamored by Chris Cornell, and that was my favorite album. So to be able to hang out with the producer was amazing. But Black Hole Sun, he was telling me the story about Black Hole Sun and how he went to a CD shop, which that was back in the day when there were a lot of CDs, but he bought this is Michael Beinhorn, he bought all these cassettes for Chris, and they were all Frank Sinatra. And so he gave them to Frank Sinatra, or he gave the Frank Sinatra CDs to Chris, and Chris was the same way I was with Otis Redding and my dad. He's like, why would I listen to this?
Yeah.
And Beinhorn was like, I want you to listen to how he sings. I want you to listen to what he does. So for the next 2 days, because he also said, don't come back to the studio for a couple of days. Just promise me you'll listen to it. And he said, Chris said, okay, I will. He came back to the studio 2 days later. Now, you got to keep in mind, 48 hours, and he did listen to Frank Sinatra that whole time. And he wrote a song. And he came back to the studio, and he told Michael, he was like, I think I understand what you were getting at.
Yeah.
I wrote something. I'm going to play it for you. And so he starts the first few notes on the guitar, and then he went, in my eyes, and indisposed, and in disguise as no one knows, has the face that lights the way in the sun in my disgrace. So when you hear that, that's the croon.
Yeah.
That's the way he walks through that song. He listened to Frank Sinatra, and he took notes. You know what I mean? And and it was born. One of the greatest rock songs of all time.